All right, looks like we're ready to get going here for the third sales track today. For those of you that were here earlier, again, thanks for being here. New to the room, I'm Dave Haycock. I'm with ADT's Authorized Dealer Program, the Regional Director in the Southeast, and we'll be sponsoring the sales and marketing track all week here at ESX, so thank you for coming. This session, if you need CEU credits, you will qualify for them, so come up to the front to get your credit form later on. So we'll be talking about the refresh opportunity, upselling new products and services to your current customers. This is for the people that have already purchased from you, and you're looking to go back to find that upsell opportunity. And from the expertise that we have rolling out the course here for you today, you should be able to walk away with an upsell opportunity in a neighborhood of $400 in a renewed contract for your current customers. Who we have speaking, we have Kirk McDowell, the residential business leader from Interlogix. Kirk has been with GE and Interlogix for 8 years as the residential business leader. He has also owned and operated electronic security companies and was executive vice president of an SDM 100 company in California. He began with his own alarm company as a single employee and sold it 6 years later with 72 employees, a central station, and had 20% of the market share in his community. Kirk has also served 32 years as a police officer in California, and that was contiguous along with his alarm tenure. He is retired as a reserve lieutenant with the Los Angeles Community Sheriff's Department. Kirk is also on the board of directors of the Alarm Industry Education and Research Foundation, former president of the LA County Burglar and Fire Alarm Association, as well as a chairperson of the Secure Plus Task Force of ESA. Also presenting with Kirk today, we have Jay Stuck, Executive Vice President in Sales, Chief Marketing Officer of SecureWatch 24. Jay is one of the leading sales and marketing professionals in the security industry. He's currently, as I mentioned, the Executive Vice President, Sales and Chief Marketing Officer of SecureWatch 24 in Manhattan, one of the fastest growing dealer integrators in the United States. Previously, Jay has served as a Vice President of Residential Sales with Guardian Protection Services and was VP of Global Brand Marketing for ADT. He has won a number of advertising and sales awards during his career and is a popular speaker at industry conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, your speakers for this afternoon.
Thank you. Go ahead, say Kirk out, just once. He's going to put the cuffs on me. So Kirk and I are apparently the only things standing in the way between you and the bar.
Talk about upselling.
So we promised that we're going to make this fast and we're going to make this entertaining. Upselling, Kirk. When we talk about upselling, go back one slide there, bro. So when we talk about selling, I guess, is selling an art or is it a science? How is it both? Yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of textbooks on selling, right? Not a lot of textbooks on upselling. But really, when you get down to it, I guess it's an art, wouldn't you say?
I think it is an art. Art? No, I think it is an art. And we're gonna demonstrate a little bit of that art now, we hope. So good afternoon, Jay, and welcome to the table rear end car dealership.
Hi, listen, I'm just looking.
I appreciate you are looking, and Mr. Stuck, a lot of people tell me the same thing. As a matter of fact, the car you've been looking at is our ES model. It is the basic car. It was rated one of the top 10 buys last year in Consumer Reports. But I also, if I have your permission, I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about the ESX model. The ESX model is really for the top.
I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I mean, I really just kind of needed some wheels just to go back and forth to the station. I didn't really want to spend a lot of money, and I just kind of really wanted to look at a nice basic car. Does that have, by the way, does this one right here, is that like got 4 cylinders or 6 cylinders?
This one here is a 6-cylinder. And what type of driving do you do? Do you do mostly highway, or is it
I do a lot of highway.
Do you? So, and how many miles do you think you drive a year?
Well, I probably put at least 12 or 13,000 miles on, at least 1,000 miles a month.
Business or personal?
A lot of it is business.
So let me ask you a question. If you're doing a lot of business, do you take customers out quite a bit?
Every once in a while, sure. Yeah, I've got that kind of job where I kind of want to impress people.
Good, and I'm glad you said that because about 82% of our customers that invest in the ESX model, the one we were just talking about, actually buy it for business, and they buy it for business purposes. As a matter of fact, you can get a tax rebate at this. So what we're trying to demonstrate at this point is that although Jay's trying to throw me off during this whole cycle, what I do is I keep coming back and directing him back to the upsell of what I think he needs. Now, his pocketbook may not dictate so, but we just want to demonstrate a little bit of that upsell technique.
But Kirk also did something else there. What else did he do well? He what? He tried to create a need. He asked a lot of questions, okay? So we need sales reps that can ask a lot of questions and then listen to the answers, right? Because suddenly I didn't want a Pinto anymore. Suddenly I wanted to upscale it.
Oh, by the way, we don't have any of those available this year, so you'll have to wait.
Okay. So, hey, that's upselling.
So upselling versus cross-selling. What I like to do is to define a little bit between the two. So upselling is taking an existing customer or an existing location and allowing that customer to invest more money with the specific reason that you're in the home. So if you're there to do a basic alarm system, you want to add on more door and window sensors, you want to do smoke detection, heat detection, interactive services. Cross-selling is the opportunity to get inside a small business, simplicity's sake. You're called in for an intrusion lead and you walk out with an intrusion, an access, and a fire system. So that's cross-selling opportunity. We just wanted to find that so we're all on the same page as we're moving forward through this presentation.
So why is this important? Why is upselling to customers important? I mean, you know, one of the themes you're going to hear at this seminar over the next couple of days is the importance of technology and how technology is really transforming our industry. Well, so what? I mean, you know, I can go out and I can sell a bunch of new systems, right, with this fancy new technology. Yeah, but is that smart? There are a number of real reasons, financial reasons, why you want to go back to your customer base and why some of the stuff we're going to talk about can really mean more revenue, more RMR for all of us in the room. You know, the stuff that you're going to hear about, and not just this seminar, but at least twice today there have been talks about new technology. There'll be more tomorrow morning. Why is it important to us? Because it gives us an opportunity to talk about something new. Up to now, we've always sold the same beige plastic on the wall. We've been selling it for about 15 or 20 years. Folks like Kirk in Interlogix now have some really sexy new stuff that a lot of people will find a lot more attractive. And it's an opportunity for us, as you'll see, to stem attrition, an opportunity for us to go back and create a dialogue with our customers.
And once your customers really want something rather than specifically need it for an event that occurred, you can generate more recurring monthly revenue, reduce attrition we were just talking about next door, and really create more value for you and your customer. So research indicates people will pay for the convenience of being able to use their system. You know that. We're covering some of the basics before we get into the meat.
So what are we upselling? Okay, remember I said we've been selling the same old beige plastic, door sensors, maybe a glass break. Beyond that, we were lucky to sell a camera or two, and those were rare. You know, when I first started in the business, right around when dinosaurs ruled the earth, it was not unusual for the average residential sale to be about $3,500 or $4,000. How many folks remember those days? Before ADT sort of commoditized the business with its advertising. Well, guess what? We're getting back to those days. I see a return to the $3,000 and $4,000 average sales. And that's going to be driven by the new technology, like from Interlogix. So what are we selling? Well, first of all, cameras. We have seen the future, and it is video. Video, video, video. Video verification of alarms. How many of us have local ordinances with at least 2-call verification? How many folks have local municipalities that are now talking about some verification beyond just 2 calls? Yeah. 3 to 5 years, it's all going to be video. I see some folks shaking their heads yes. You, sir, are on the cutting edge. A lot of people want to deny it. They don't want to hear about it. It's coming. Go back to your customers now and start selling it.
And as a side note, too, you're going to hear this tomorrow. ARIF. So I'm on the board of directors for ARIF, and we're just releasing this new study on burglars who go into prison and why they burglarize and how they do it. You're going to hear about it tomorrow morning. But one of the key takeaways is that, of course, burglar alarm systems, they do look for that, but what do they look for first coming up is video on the outside of the home. So you're going to hear, make sure you're at the breakfast tomorrow, because you're going to hear Dr. Blevins and Dr. Coons talk about that.
So,
that's just advertising.
So look at this other kind of cool stuff now that we can talk about. Thermostats, smart thermostats. You can control the ambient temperature in your home. Lamp modules. Door locks. There was a seminar earlier today about door locks and about how ASG, a pretty good security company, ASG is out there selling the heck out of door locks. And they're finding a lot of buyers. Water, other sensors. All of this stuff makes homes smarter and makes people's lifestyle more convenient. And really, that's the key.
Absolutely. And when you put in a receiver to be able to accept the Z-Wave or whatever technology, you have future-proofed your customers and you. Because I can tell you, every manufacturer right now is back somewhere else having a discussion on, okay, what's next after this? Okay? And they're going to come up with ideas, so you future-proof yourself by having that technology within the room.
So the old way is that we used to scare the bejesus out of the customer. All right? All the advertising used to be with dudes in ski masks and crowbars, okay? And we used to knock on doors and say, now, I mean, within the limits of taste, Ms. Customer, you may be aware that, you know, there have been a lot of break-ins in your neighborhood now. And, you know, your neighbor over here just signed for a residential security system with me, and I happen to be in the neighborhood, so I thought I'd just knock on your door and see if you'd be interested as well. You can never be too careful. Right? We used to, I mean, that's the sell. It's still the sell. But it's not the sell of the future. The sell of the future, okay, is that we are now appealing, not this old way, but now we're appealing to this home automation stuff. Now you can do so much more, Mr. Customer, with the kind of new, cool, sexy technology that I'm here to tell you about today.
So it's really, we believe, we never want you to abandon your roots and the roots of security. But we want you to also understand that consumers want more than just security today. How many of you, by a show of hands, are selling interactive services today, one way or another? Okay. And I predict that, I call it the push or pull. You've been either pushed into that by competitors or been pulled into that by your manufacturers. And I got to tell you, I think it's great. The pendulum has swung back the other way, and it's got to be a fun experience for the consumer. And you also have to paint the picture. Customers and potential customers need to know, and your existing customers that you want to upsell need to know that there's more out there than they first originally purchased from you, because if you don't do it, somebody else will. An event will occur. There'll be a knock at the door. There'll be a burglary of the neighborhood. There'll be a telemarketing call to their home. There'll be their cable operator or a telecommunications operator that shows up and tells them that they have it, and you don't?
So I heard, I mentioned ASG, and Jim Boots, who's the guy responsible for the Resi program at ASG, was talking about how they were very concerned about a year and a half ago because of the attrition rates that they were seeing, and they saw that a lot of competitors were coming in and cannibalizing their customers. And they thought it was because of price. Turns out it wasn't at all because of price. Their customers were leaving them, and they were only paying $25 a month. It turns out that the people that were cannibalizing their customer base were getting $35, $45 a month because they were upselling this technology to their customers. So ASG got smart and said, hey, you know what? We got to start to do this too. So one of the ways to sell this new technology is to sort of paint the picture. Now, you can do it on a door knock, or you can do it as I'm talking to you when I'm in your living room as a customer. And we'll talk about the ways in which you can engage your customers and how to do that in a couple of minutes. But the idea is that you've got to paint the picture about this new technology and what it can mean, because the new cell is about lifestyle and convenience. And while I'm an old guy, that may not resonate with me in terms of a message for the younger consumer, the first-time home buyer. The kids that were born with a joystick in their hands, they get this. And they look at what that new technology can do, and they say, that is cool. And what's happened is that it's no longer, it used to be people bought a security system because of a trigger event, right? $100 million in research, and it was like, well, I got mugged, or I got robbed, or I knew somebody that did, or, I have a daughter that had just had a baby, so I want to protect her. There was a trigger event. And it was like, well, I really don't want to do it, but I guess I have to buy a security system. People didn't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, should we try that, should we want to go to Cape Cod or buy a security system? It wasn't a need to have kind of a thing. Now suddenly it's kind of like a cool thing. It's an impulse buy. It was never an impulse buy. Now it is. When you see the technology in the kind of cool way in which I can interact with my house. So the sell is around painting those pictures. Okay, the sell is, hey, Ms. Customer, I noticed you have a couple of bicycles here in the front yard, and by the way, thank you very much for being a customer of ours. How would you like to know when your son came home off the bus at 4 o'clock? Would you like to be able to maybe get a text? Would you like to be able to look in the family room? Or, how would you like to know whether or not Johnny's actually doing his homework, or is he playing with the Wii? Because we can actually put a little sensor, okay, on your TV cabinet, and if he opens up the door to the Wii, you can get a little text. Heck, we can send you a JPEG of it. Would that be of interest to you? That's the kind of questioning now, okay, that should be standard operating procedure for the way in which we're selling this new technology. So let's talk about customer engagement. Somebody today suggested that, you know what, to really demonstrate lamp modules and the convenience of lighting, give one away. They're relatively inexpensive, a lamp module, right? Mm-hmm. Give one away. Make that maybe part of a phone campaign or a letter back to your customers. And as you'll see, you always need to be talking to your customers. It helps attrition. I've never understood this, but I've actually worked for folks that said, well, geez, you don't want to go back to your customers. They've been paying 3 and 5. They've got their contract coming up and for renewal, and I don't want to really rock the boat. We've had them for 3 years, or we've had them for 5 years, and no, we don't want to really even let them know, okay, because they keep sending the check in. We don't want to do anything that's going to bother that or interrupt that. Boy, we have to have more faith in the services that we provide, all right, and the loyalty of our customers. If we're afraid of engaging them and letting them know, that there's some new technology or that their contract is coming up after 36 months, that is a perfect opportunity to upsell the customer, to call them up and say, Mr. Stuck, thank you very much for being a customer. Have I got some cool stuff for you? Do you have an elderly person who's living with you? How would you like to know whether or not Grandpa takes his medication at 3 o'clock? Again, paint that picture in terms of the lifestyle and convenience. How's 3 o'clock tomorrow? I'd love to come out and show you some of this new technology. You've been with us for 3 years, you know, it's really evolved. There's a lot more kind of cool stuff now. That's the sell. Does that make sense? Kurt, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And for those of you that were, we just stepped out of an attrition seminar, and I made the comment that my company, when I was owner-operator, we gave $25 per year for credit for every year a system was monitored in a good standing towards upgrade of a new panel and keypad. They couldn't do PIRs, they couldn't do smokes, and the reason we did that was because we wanted to standardize all of our inventory going out. So it was up to 10 years, they had $250. Somebody said they did $50 a year, up to $500. And I have to tell you, if you do a $250 upgrade, you can say, Mr. and Mrs., to Jay's point, hey, we want to come out, you're at the end of your contract, however you want to do it, and say, we want to come out and upgrade your control panel. You've been a client for 3 years, 5 years, we want to upgrade control panel, keypad, no charge. We're just trying to do this for us and for you, so we have one inventory. You go on out, I can guarantee you walk out the door with a $400 upgrade. And we're going to talk about the upsell and how you do that in just a minute.
Or, why not call up your customers or send them an email, send them a letter, and just say, hey, we want to come out and spend 3 years, we want to do a systems check.
Right. Because people's life change. Life change. Our last is 20 years old. Our last one at home is 20 years old. He's going in the Army. Okay? We have one in the Air Force, one in the Army, the other 2 are out. And all of a sudden we're going, what are we going to do with this? Well, I can tell you we're probably going to travel more for fun, not for work. So I'm going to have to make sure that my home is adequately protected because we're not going to be there as much.
Now, look, I said I'm an old dog, okay? And I'm very blessed in that I've had a number of really, really good sales reps who have been part of my teams. Now, invariably, these are older men and women who have always sold in a particular way. They have a particular set of habits, and they don't buy into a lot of new ways of doing stuff easily. So if the first step in upselling to your customers is to really make sure that your sales organization is trained in this new way of selling. How many folks have their sales reps with an iPad or a computer? Pretty much everybody. If you don't, you need one. All right? The days of schlepping a demo kit around are pretty much over. Particularly when companies such as Interlogix have interactive demos that are perfect for keypads. I mean, perfect for iPads. Where it's so easy, Mr. Customer, here, you try it. You can see it. Look how easy it is to arm and disarm the system. Right? What are the 2 biggest reasons that people quit on you after 36 or 60 months? Huh? They stop using it, or they're moving, right? Moving, number 1 reason. Stop using it, or I'm afraid to use it, number 2 reason. Well, guess what? The whole idea with this new technology is that now you're using it every day. You're using it every day. So at a time when the economy is bad, and the man and wife are sitting there at a kitchen table, and it's time to pay the bills, and they're writing the rent check, and then they're writing the electric, and they're writing the food, the husband's going to look over at the wife and say, babe, do we really need this like security system thing? It's like $40 a month. We can, $35 a month. We can probably use that money somewhere else. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I never use that thing anyway. Matter of fact, I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of getting false alarms. I don't want to get a bill. So they quit. Now, they're not going to quit because they're interacting with it. They're not afraid of it anymore. They're looking at it all the time. All the time. They're looking at it at lunch. They're looking at it at breakfast. They're looking in on their cameras. They're getting texts. They're familiar with the brand. So it doesn't matter whether it's Acme Security or ADT. All right? They're familiar and they're comfortable with your brand, which is the number one reason why you want to be going back to your customers. Does that make sense, folks? Does that make sense? Good. Training. You ran your own shop. You did sales incentives, right, for your guys, your men and women?
You bet. And what we did is we talked about successes and we talked about failures. And you have to create an environment where people can do that. Not only in your sales, but your entire organization. But you talk about sales. So we would give a lead to a salesperson, and they had a certain amount of time to close it. If they didn't close it, come back to the house lead. And sales manager would get it, or I'd get it. And I'd call and say, hey, I'm Kirk McDowell, I'm the Executive Vice President, Post Alarm. And I understand that Mark Kennedy came out last week, and you elected not to do the system at that point. He goes, no. I did. I called Mark and left him a message yesterday. He hasn't called me back. Without a doubt. So I'd call Mark, but you have, and I'd say, hey, okay, buddy, what's happening here? But you have to train all the time. And the best people to lead your training are your sales folks. Let them take ownership. Let them take ownership. Bring your vendors in. Whoever your vendor, whatever manufacturer you use, bring them in. Use their expertise. Get them to help you out.
But your sales reps have to be able to sell this new technology. Particularly your top performing folks need to be very familiar with this technology and what it does.
Jay, I think you covered this.
I did. You know, we talked about free install. You might say, oh, geez, Kirk, oh, Jay, I don't know if I could afford to do a free install. Listen, there's stuff out there, okay, that there are panels. You make them, right? They do both hardwired and wireless. Yeah. So I can get that whole GSM, all that cool stuff, okay, in a, what's that system called, a Concord?
You bet.
Oh, okay. And I can just take existing wires from sensors and just run right in there and points and all that stuff? Folks, look at the longevity and the retention. Try it, a couple of them. Buy a couple of them. It doesn't have to be Interlogix. Go to Honeywell. Go to wherever. Try it. See how easy it is. All right? Bite the bullet. Pay the cost for a couple of free upgrades. See whether or not that resonates with your customers as a test. Advertising and marketing is testing all the time. Because we're here to tell you that this new technology means more account retention for you because of that interaction with the brand every day. And the upsell. It ain't $25 anymore. $35, $45, $49. Now we think the threshold is probably around $60. I was at a seminar today and they were talking about how in terms of some of this new technology, going back to their customers, they're finding that $60 is about the ceiling. They're a little afraid of trying to go back and upsell their customers, current customers, beyond $60. And there's some research out there to back it up. But folks, I don't know about you, but if I had a bunch of customers that were paying me $45 or $50 a month, I'd be happy as a clam. Happy as a clam. If I can convert 80, 90% of my customers to $50 a month, holy moly, champagne's on me.
So some of the questions for upselling is who's the best person to make the upsell and why? Is it the sales rep or the installer? And how do you compensate? So it really depends on your go-to-market strategy. More and more companies that I talk to across the United States are opting now to have internal sales reps. Customer calls in, call is taken, and a basic system is sold over the phone. Is there anybody here doing that today? Okay, you are. Most are traditional. Most will send out a salesperson. Okay? Finding that statistically that the closing ratio is just as good internally on an inbound call. Installer goes out. Installer walks up to the door. Doesn't park in my driveway. We were talking about it earlier. Don't park in my driveway, please. Some people have a pet peeve. That's one of mine. Okay? If for somebody in a van to park in my driveway because the oil's all over the place and I don't have any place to park. Comes up, knocks on the door, takes a step back. Homeowner opens the door and says, hey, I'm Kirk. I'm here to install your system. Comes in with a drop cloth, puts a drop cloth down, puts the tools on the drop cloth. Customer thinks what? This guy's neat, knows what he's doing. He's going to take care of my home. That, I'm not suggesting that's what you have to do, but I am suggesting that historically, some of our customers are getting between a $400 to $600 upsell at that time. They're selling over the phone for $199, $200, and then walking in the door and doing a $400 to $600 upgrade at that point. Because they believe the best person to sell is the installer when they're installing. You have to make sure that you compensate that person for doing it. I am not suggesting you change your business model. But I will tell you this. I was talking to a counterpart in another country the other day. And I said, hey, just so you know, door knocking is coming your way. Nobody here, they said, nobody here will open the door to door knocking. And I said, that's what they said here 9 years ago. That's what they said here 9 years ago. So sometimes we have to change the way or interpret things a little bit differently.
And by the way, when your installer is out trying to do an upsell to a customer, and it could be a service tech, okay, on a service call. It can be an installer, obviously, on a new installation, trying to do an upsell. But also, again, if there's a customer that's interested and you send an installer out to do the upsell, $20 as a commission is not it. That's not the right spiff, okay? I mean, I would take a serious look at paying that installer the same amount of money I would have paid to a sales rep. When you look at the cost of acquisition, you could probably afford to do that, and you would have installers that would be selling like crazy for you. How many folks have been in a webinar? How many folks have ever logged onto a webinar or done a webinar? All right? Why not send an email to your customers or call them up and say, hey, listen, Acme Security is going to be doing a webinar on new security technology this coming Wednesday at 7:30 at night. Try it at different times. Ideal opportunity for you to re-engage with your customers, and it's an ideal opportunity to really show them, walk them through interactively online what this new technology looks like. Costs you nothing except the cost of an email. All right? Make it fancy. There are ways to do it, like Constant Contact. Everybody know Constant Contact? Ever heard of Constant Contact? Mm-hmm. Who hasn't heard of Constant Contact? It's okay to say no. Write it down. Check it out. Constant Contact. It's a way of engaging with your customers through emails, through newsletters. Very, very easily done.
So examples of best-in-class upselling techniques. Give me an example. Somebody here, we talked about before, the installer coming into the home and upselling at that time. Does anybody here have an example of how they upsell at the home, either in the initial sale or post-sale? Nobody? Is that why you're all here? Yes, sir. Great idea. Everybody hear that? So you ask so you make the assumptive close and just say, and you give the customer the option.
And
so
that's like the lamp module idea,
right.
Okay, which is no one wants just one, right?
Right.
Like a Lay's potato chip.
Yes. And the other nice thing about doing a lamp module, of course, nobody wants one. And with every lamp module you get with X10, we don't manufacture X10. See, I am dating myself. Sorry about that. But look at these guys go, what is he talking? For Z-Wave, it's an extender. It extends the range of it. We got to go back to extend and POTS line. POTS lines are the way of the future. Okay. Do you have an upselling training system? Does anybody using today, anybody using an upselling training system? Okay, I'm going to give you one in a few minutes or two. Okay, do upsells reduce attrition, and if so, how? So, upselling, the more people pay for a system, the more invested they are, and the less likelihood they're going to cancel for non-use. Okay, Jay said it earlier before. Convenience package, whether you're using Honeywell's Total Connect, our Alarm.com, or 2GIG, or whatever you're using, that's what people want. They want to see it, they want to use it, and your actual attrition rate is lower. And we've seen studies, and your interactive service provider should be able to give you the studies that they have commenced and done over the last 5 or 6 years that show the lower attrition rate, with a higher use of interactive services. That way you can judge accordingly of which one you want to. So.
Do you have any, if you folks are like me, I burn through a lot of sales reps, okay? I'm not necessarily proud of it, but in a high volume kind of a situation, it's sell or die. And when I hire in a new sales rep, I mean, we train them. We just don't give them a clipboard and a piece of literature and send them on their way. I mean, they have about 3 or 4 weeks of actual classroom training, coaching, mentoring, ride-alongs. We'll send them out at an install. You know, he'll help pull wire, or she'll help pull wire, whatever, so she understands a little bit more about the business. And I tell a new hire, hey, listen, I don't expect a whole lot at all in the first 4 weeks. Second month, I kind of sort of expect that we're going to drop your hand and you're going to be selling. At least as much as you can and as best you can. And of course, we're always there to coach and mentor and, you know, have the sales managers and do whatever, ride-alongs. At the end of 90 days, however, I expect you are making sales. And if not, then this could be a bad career choice for you. So I will probably talk you out of the business. But you know what? Before I do that, why not have a couple of call nights? For some of these sort of non-performing sales reps, give them your customer list. Give them a script. See if they have some success calling customers about this new technology and doing upsells. Don't be so quick to fire them. Maybe they can be turned into some sort of an in-house sales machine, all right, who's able to generate some appointments. It goes back to what Kirk was saying about an in-house sales department. Try out these folks. I mean, you've already spent 90 days and a considerable amount of money to put their fanny in a chair. You might as well try to get some maximized use out of them.
And conversely, you know, the company that I was the EVP for in Los Angeles 12 years ago, 10 years ago, some of the reps that were there then are still there today. So, but we all have to learn new things. So your model may be different, but you have to understand that we have to train all the time, because otherwise your salespeople are not upselling. They're just order takers.
How many folks invoice their customers? Obviously, customer messages, okay, on your invoicing. How many folks have tried mailers, little flyers to put in bill inserts? Okay, yeah, pretty much everybody. All right. Go down to find a designer of marketing materials. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg. Find somebody that will create a nice little direct mail package for you that you can send to your customers about this upsell opportunity and about the new technology. You don't know what to say or what to put in it? There are companies like Interlogix, like Alarm.com. They have zillions of pieces of information online that you can download, all about this lifestyle stuff. Give that to your designer. Let the designer come up with a really nice, I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, $5 a package, but I mean, something that's better than just some, you know, misspelled, homegrown kind of a letter from a sales rep. All right? I mean, I'm appalled at what some of my sales reps have sent out. Shame on me for not proofing that stuff, because that's my brand. And guess what? What they're sending out sucks. I'm embarrassed. Spend some money and have it done right.
I maintain that in upselling, there's always a good, better, best, the old Sears, good, better, best scenario, because most people will opt for best, or better. Sorry, they won't opt for best, they won't opt for good, but they'll want something in the middle. And during the upsell, either at the home or at the office, at the business, you have to make sure that you're representing maybe one platform, but different products within that platform, and give the customer the opportunity to upgrade. Because as we talked about earlier, when Jay came into the auto dealership, he had his mindset here, I had my mindset here, we may end up somewhere in the middle. So how do commercial upgrades differ from residential upgrades? They may not. They may not. You may be doing more cross-selling than actual upgrades in commercial environments. So cross-selling opportunities in a business, make sure that the lead, when you give the lead to the salesperson and they walk out the door and it's an intrusion lead, there's two things you have to make sure. Number one, for residential or commercial, when they come back and they come back with a $2,000 sale residential, the first question you need to say, well, first thing you need to say is great job. Second thing you need to say is how many square feet's a home? How many square feet's a home? It's 4,500 square feet. I maintain if it's 4,500 square feet and they sold $2,000 system, you left money on the table, it's an opportunity to upsell at the time the installer gets to the home. Commercially, when they walk back in, you sold an intrusion system, good job. What's the square footage? About 45,000 square feet. If it's 45,000 square foot and they sold an alarm, you know they have to have a fire system in there, right? Maybe an evac, maybe not, pull station, depending on the jurisdiction, and video. So when they come back, say, good job on the intrusion, what about the rest? If they didn't do it, that's your chance to upsell at that point. It's your chance to retrain at that point.
How many folks have a website? Pretty much everybody. How many folks have this interactive, cool, sexy stuff on their website? If you don't, put it on. All right? Put it up there. Matter of fact, that's an ideal way to run some specials, all right, for your customers and your prospects. And again, go back to your dealer, go back to your equipment manufacturer. They've got templates, they've got photos, they've got stuff that you can easily upload to your websites, all right, to highlight this new convenient lifestyle stuff.
You know, one of the things that used to drive our operations folks crazy residentially is when the salespeople would go out or the installers would go out, the installers would go out and they'd upsell at the time of installation. And it would drive them crazy until we came up with a method. And the method was 5-in-1. That 5-in-1 was you could do 5 wireless sensors in 1 hour. If you upsold at the time of installation, so they sell me the basic package, either in person or over the phone, installer comes and he installs the system, and I'm going to show you an upsell kit in a minute, and the customer elects to do an additional protection. You can do 5 wireless sensors in 1 hour or less. It does not throw off your operational schedule. When somebody starts saying, I want to hardwire this back door or hardwire this, then it throws off your operation schedule because your operation people are going to kill you because they have more jobs in queue. So we said 5-in-1. So 5 sensors in 1 hour, 5 wireless sensors 1 hour, and that was the mantra. And most of the time, I think we'd average about 3.5 sensors per job on the upsell. And we were charging $70 a sensor in those days. So it wasn't all that bad.
So there's an economic reason to go back to your customers then and your prospects with this new technology. You can slam it in faster and make a little more money.
Yeah, absolutely. And there has to be, as we said before, we found that technicians are sometimes not the best communicators. So what we did is we had to come up with a plan and develop a plan so the technicians could upsell at the time of installation. So we came up with a demo kit. We still have this demo kit today. It's a box, it's a carton, it's something you do carry in. We're going to talk about electronic upsell kits in a minute. They would set it down. First of all, they'd take something down so they wouldn't put it on the kitchen counter, you know. They would unprotected. They'd open it up, and inside that demo kit would be hard devices. You have a smoke detector. You have a passive infrared. You have a door window sensor. You'd have a light module. And you would have devices. The installer would pull a couple of those devices out, walk around with a customer, and they would have Post-it notes, these special round Post-it notes that we have made. And they would put the Post-it notes with the consumer all the way around. Say, okay, we're going to put the contact on this front door. We're going to do this window. Smoke's going to be here, approximately that area right there. We're going to do this, this, this. So all of a sudden, the customer looks around the home, and there's 2 rooms that don't have Post-it notes in it. You've heard this story before. There's 2 rooms that don't have Post-it notes. And they go, well, what's up with that? Say, no problem. Contract said, we're doing 13 openings. If you'd like to add these 2, it's no problem. We can do it now, and we don't have to charge you for the installation of that, or we come back later. It's up to you. So you put that back in their hands, giving them the option of what they want to do. But it had to be a science. You had to develop this kit with a quick check-off box so the consumer can say, yes, I want to add 2 doors, I want to add this. It would be an addendum to the contract. But most importantly, we gave them a kit. And when they walked in the door, they could set up the kit. They didn't have to talk much. Okay? It's easier to have a tool there to show rather than try to teach a technician or try to change the technician's colors. Sometimes it's much easier just to have the kit. And then the customer would start asking, and we found once the customer started asking questions, they would engage. Now, also, we have an electronic form. Because if you're old like me, you want to use the upsell kit, but you'd probably also want to do this and swipe through it and show people exactly what to do. So is anybody doing that today? Does anybody use an upsell kit or actually bring devices into the home to show to the consumer at the time of sale or at the time of install? How many do that?
Yeah, it's important that the customer touch and feel this new technology. And whether or not it's on an iPad or whether or not it's on a kit, the customer needs to touch and feel it in order to really understand how easy it is. So it's very important, okay, that they actually interact with it in living room. How many have sales reps who have this new interactive technology in their homes? Very important, okay? Very important. It is so much easier for me as a sales rep to pull out my cell phone and say, look, don't take my word for it. Take a look. This is my cat in the living room. Okay? I hate cats. But essential in terms of showing to the customer, all right, that here's what you can do with this. And look at this. This is my front door. Why is it open? Right? This is my wife.
And there's my television going out the front door. So, would you do me a favor? What's your name? Mark. That's right. Thanks, Mark. So, Mark and I were next door. I was doing a segment on attrition, and we were talking about attrition and how to save accounts. And Mark brought up a point that I want you all to listen to, because it's really about upselling or saving, because every time you save an account, you're really upselling. So Mark, would you talk about what happens when somebody calls it a cancel with your company?
Yeah, so admittedly, we don't do a really great job of sort of mid-contract upselling, and we're trying to crack that code. But when someone calls us, either they're on their month-to-month renewal or they're at the end of term, we consider that not as a renewal opportunity, but it's a sales opportunity. We just completely ignore that they're currently a customer. We say they're calling to cancel, they're gone. And they're a sales lead to us. And most of the time, especially at our customer base, has had a home security system for many, many years. I mean, probably 8, 9, 10 years on average. So the first thing we did is we took away that function from the customer service team, and we put it under inside sales, which was very, very productive at our company. Because their ability to discuss value is 10 times better than somebody who deals with customer service on a daily basis. And we decided that in the old world, it was totally acceptable. In the old world, before me and my management team took over, it was totally acceptable to retain your customers at an RMR loss. Just retain as many as you possibly can.
At a loss.
Yeah.
So if I said I'm only going to pay you $30 a month, you say okay.
Yeah, so you save $100
Right.
which was very, very typical. So our goal was to change the paradigm and say, let's just do it opposite. Let's assume they're gone, and let's upsell them and gain RMR on our saves. Our saves rate is up about 45 percentage points in doing that. And we're increasing RMR on our saves by over $7 per save. And by the way, that actually factors in that we do lose some RMR on some customers, and certainly we do. The customer says, I just need my RMR locked, lower by $2. And that's the only way to keep it. We'll do it. So the RMR gains on the people that we upgrade is actually on average higher than $7. And we just treat it as a sales lead. One thing we realized, and I actually come from a summer sales model. I ran all of inside sales for Pinnacle Security for several years.
Yeah.
And so I was sort of in that world, but not of that world. And we knew that the summer sales companies were going to go out, and they were going to go out to your customers. And the Pinnacles and the Vivint were going to hit them on value. They were going to hit them on upgrades. So I said to my general manager, listen, we know that these customers, they may say they want a lower rate. They may say they're just kind of done using their system. But there's a good chance that a lot of these customers have just talked to a Vivint rep or just talked to a Protection One rep, because Protection One now has their summer sales model. And they're probably thinking some sort of upgrade. So just go upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. And it's been very, very successful. We're saving 45 percentage points higher. Of the people that call in to cancel, we're above 70% save rate. Over $7 per customer increased RMR. We think we can get to about 83, 84% save rate. And we've actually just turned it into a profit center. So no, it's completely unacceptable to lose money on your saves. We now make money. We think we'll probably end up increasing our RMR about $3,000 a month off of canceling customers.
Those are great metrics. Great metrics.
Isn't that great?
And he's doing it. He's doing it.
And when you work with we actually have we have local branch offices, and we work really, really well together with them. If we have a customer that we think, we think this person might need somebody in person, we'll get some out. Now our close rates are just as good, if not better, if we do it over the phone. I'm a huge phone guy, but we'll send a branch sales rep out there if we think that the customer might need to see it. They'll go out there with the kid, and they are frequently getting $400 or $500 upgrades. Our average upgrade is over $300, and again over $7.
In person.
Yeah,
that's.
It's okay. I mean, somebody mentioned last course, like giving away free radio. It's not saying you can't quote unquote give something away, but you can't give a radio away and not increase their RMR rate.
Right.
Right.
And they'll do it. It's proven over and over again. We don't think we can even close to the ceiling of what we can do.
I was telling Mark, and if that doesn't resonate, because it took me, when he said that, I had to think for a moment, because I got to get out of my mindset. Like Brandon's going back there, yes. But every time I call Comcast, every time, to lower my rate or cancel, I call them every 9 months just to cancel, just to see if I can get something. I walk out the door on the phone, and I've got 3 more channels. I've spent another $25 a month, and I say, what the heck just happened? I called to be mean. And they're really nice, and I don't know what happened to me. That's exactly what Mark was saying. So I had a hard time correlating that a little bit ago, but just think of your cable. What happens to you in cable? Just think of the car. I hate car shopping. Okay, just think of what I did to Jay before. Okay?
Every customer contact, you need to be talking about this upsell new technology. Every time they call in with a service issue, every time they call in with a billing issue, resolve it, and then talk about the latest technology. Everybody in the organization needs to be trained up on this. Do not lose an opportunity to talk to your customers. How many folks have installed a camera in your office that points at just a cube, nothing, a wall? All right? On your website, create just a little link, okay, Acme Security /Cam Demo 1. Send out an email to your customers and say, listen, in order for you to see exactly what you can see on your cell phone, use your smartphone or use your iPad, click on this link. It'll take you to the wall or the cube or whatever it is you've got the camera pointed on. This can be your front door. This could be your living room or your pool or your kitchen. But the idea is that real time, the customer, you've got a live demo at your shop, all right, that the customer can log on to. How many folks think they have sold some of this interactive stuff to a really, really good customer that really likes it? Okay? They really like it. You know what? Eat a year of monitoring for that customer. Turn that customer into a testimonial. Take a picture of her, take a picture of him, standing next to the keypad or with a cell phone in their hand or under a camera. Write a little blurb about how Mrs. McGillicuddy, who's an Acme Security customer, loves the new technology from Alarm.com and Interlogix. We just upgraded her. And let her become Acme Security. Put her on the website, do an email with her picture, that picture you just took. Pick up the monitoring for her for 6 months or a year. As a thank you, have her sign a release. You can get those on the web, okay? But the idea is that it's a customer testimonial. People want to buy from people that are using a similar product or dressed the same way, like Kelly Green shirts.
To your point about testimonials, there was a customer, it was a 2 gig customer with Alarm.com, and I think it was in Kansas. The Alarm.com people know that tornado came through. It came through, and she did not hear the tornado warnings, but she heard the beeping on the touchscreen. She went to the touchscreen, and it said tornado warning, and she went downstairs, and she got in the cellar, if I'm telling the story right. Tornado came within minutes, wiped out her home. Devastated. She's gone. The home's gone. And she was saved by technology. She did not hear the sirens. And of course now, Alarm.com, I mean, that's a testimony. You talk about testimonial, saving somebody's life by using that. Yeah, Brandon.
Florida had the tropical storm Andrea just a week or 2 ago. There was a couple tornado ones. We had a couple more pockets of customers that got severe weather alerts. And we were doing some of the Net Promoter Score surveys, and we had one that came back from a customer that said specifically, I got woken up by my panel. I had a TV off, radio off, and it let me know. I wouldn't have known otherwise. And immediately what I did is give it to one of our team and said, call this customer, let's see if we can get more of a testimonial from her to put on the website and other places about the severe weather alert.
Yeah, that's a great, at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, nothing's on. Most people my age now may take an Ambien or half, so they're crashed out, okay? They're crashed out. They're not going to hear that. So that's a great example. So when you talk about upsell, I don't know if we have solved the piece of the puzzle for you. It has a lot to do with your go-to-market strategy. But I will tell you that if you use portions of anything that makes sense to this, the upsell kit, the training, the customer testimonial, if you upsell if you get your salespeople at the time of sale to upsell, because sometimes it's a mental block, or you get your installers to upsell, or your service technicians to upsell, you can generate more gross revenue, more net revenue, more RMR, and reduce your attrition. So at the same time, what you're doing is you're truly upselling your customer base. And the fact of the matter is, if you do this repetitively, I'm not suggesting that any of you want to sell your company, but at some point, you have to have an exit plan. It could be 2 years, it could be 25, 30 years. But the more revenue you generate, and the more you can prove what I call ARPU, revenue per unit, revenue per home or business, the more profitable and the more desirable your company's going to be. So, thank you. In closing.
In closing. So who among us has the bulk of your annual revenue come from installation fees? It's all about the RMR, right? This is a perfect opportunity to increase the RMR. So Kirk, it could be Grey Goose time. Are there any questions?
What's that?
Is the
Yes, Sapara. Well, yeah, and how many are going to the wine stock? So I think we got to get over there pretty soon. I know
Was this helpful? It was? I mean, did you come away with 1 or 2 nuggets to try? Hey, folks, I really like the idea of just sending out a link to that demo camera in your shop. Okay? And again, you can structure a nice little email, even a letter. Okay? Have your sales reps have it on their iPads or on their phones. Look, here it is. You can touch it and you can feel it.
Hey, listen, thank you very, very much. And if you need CEU, please come up front and I'll sign these for you. And there's an evaluation there if you fill out for us. They're asking for that. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks again, folks.
Have a great seminar and conference.
Want to buy that car?
Thanks.
I'd love to come.
Some great ideas.
Anytime.